It's great to see everybody again. Thank you all for coming out. You know, today we're seeing so many kingdom halls closing, and witnesses are being made to travel long distances to get to their meetings. That's why I'm making a video today about the organization's secret Kingdom Hall cash grab, and how for decades they charge members of their organization interest for loans for new Kingdom Halls. So let's begin. On March 29th of the year 2014, a letter was sent to all elders, and it was read to all congregations, but not all of it was read. They pulled an Ananias and Sapphira when the organization instructed that only a portion of this 4-page letter was to be read to the congregations, thus deliberately misleading members of their organization. I'll show you the letter in a minute, but just to refresh your memory of who Ananias and Sapphira were, because we're going to talk a little bit about them. They were a married couple that belonged to the Christian congregation, and their story can be found in the Bible book of Acts chapter 5. Here it says that they had a property that they sold, and they claimed to have given all the proceeds to the Christian congregation. But in actuality, they kept some of this property for themselves. And they lied about this. And for having done this, the Bible says that Jehovah God murdered them. Well, killed them. So murder sounds so much more interesting. God killed them. And I know it seems a bit harsh, but this is how God feels about people who try to pretend they're doing something nice and are actually lying about it. But in actuality, the truth is, they didn't have to do this. They had this property. They could do whatever they wanted to do with the property. They didn't have to give any of it to the congregation. But the fact that they lied about it, that's what cost them both their lives. And I'm going to show you that the JW organization is doing exactly the same thing to their own members today. So let's have a look at this letter that I mentioned. So here's the letter. It says there what I've highlighted: congregations and assembly halls will no longer be asked to repay a loan. They should be resolving to make a monthly donation. And then it goes on to say that the need for kingdom halls and assembly halls is greater than ever before. And I put some question marks beside that because it's like, really? That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing kingdom halls closing left, right, and center and being sold. And the ones that are still open don't seem to have a lot of members. See what I've highlighted there? It says this postscript should not be read to the congregation, and this letter should not be posted on the information board. So what is it they're going to say that they don't want their members to be aware of? Well, they're talking about these resolved donations. And notice what it says there, that they're asking the elders in congregations that are making loan repayments to propose a resolution that is at least the same amount as the current monthly loan repayment. In congregations without loans, they are asking them to take this confidential survey of all publishers to determine the amount of the new resolution. And then further at the bottom there, it talks about all these other funds that they have set up and how all of them should continue to be honored. So they've got this new resolution they want their members to contribute to, but they were reminded to continue contributing to the old ones as well. And the next page again just says remind the congregation about their monthly commitments. And on the last page here, what should be done with excess congregation funds? They could be donated in full or in part to the worldwide work and our Kingdom Hall and Assembly Hall construction. So just give it to us. Give us your excess funds. So why wasn't the congregation read the entire letter? The members are the ones who pay for the Kingdom Halls. Yet they're only told that their loans have been canceled and they only need to donate what they can. But this is a lie, isn't it? Yes, their loans were canceled. But according to the next 3 pages of the letter, which the organization specifically in bold letters said not to read to the congregation, they were to continue giving at least the same amount as they paid before, but now with no end date. So what a great plan this is for the organization, not for the members. Continue paying the same amount, but forever. And we'll spin it like we're doing you some kind of favor. For congregations who had no mortgage, because they'd already finished paying off their loan with interest to the organization, they were also to do a resolution paying basically the same as what the other people are paying. Pay whatever you can, as much as you can, to the organization. I'm going to just show you a copy of the tithing form that was handed out for the members to make their resolution. So here's the household financial survey that they handed out to all their members. Notice it says that using this survey, each head of household should make this determination, as opposed to the tail, the wife of the household. Then they cite the scripture in Proverbs 3 verse 9, honor Jehovah with your valuable things. Remember, Jehovah's watching. This money's going to us, yes, but Jehovah's watching. And then there's different things that they can give here. There's a lump sum donation, or they can give a long-term non-interest bearing loan. We'll talk about interest on loans later, but it's interesting that they really focus on this, a non-interest loan, even though for decades they charged interest to their members. You're not supposed to do that. And they said that there's a critical need for local Kingdom Hall construction. Really? Where? It doesn't make any sense, not when they're selling them left, right, and center here. Not long after the March 2014 letter was sent out, Stephen Lett did a JW Broadcasting episode where he blows the proverbial trumpet. You know, the one that Jesus said not to blow when you think you're doing something good? Let's see what he had to say.
All congregations that had a Kingdom Hall or Assembly Hall loan to pay off were informed that their mortgages were canceled. Now, if you think about it, that is amazing, isn't it? All their loans were canceled. Can you imagine a bank telling homeowners that all their loans were canceled and that they should merely send in to the bank each month whatever they can afford? Only in Jehovah's organization could such a thing happen.
What he says next, though, is the real reason why he was going on about it.
However, according to some of our circuit overseers, some of us took this to mean that the organization had a surplus of funds and thus took this action, as if the loans did not need to be reimbursed. Could this misconception have affected the amount that some have chosen to donate each month? In actuality, the mortgages were canceled so as not to be a hardship on some congregations and circuits.
So there was a misconception and less money was being donated. And of course, this is a huge problem for JW.org. But of course, this is what the average person would think. Canceling the loan meant that they didn't really need your money. Just pay us when you can with whatever you can. But that's not what they meant, right? But what is the average witness to think? They weren't read the part about they want you to keep giving the same amount forever. Nobody knew about this. Well, the elders knew, but the average person wouldn't have known about this. He said that they did this so that these loans would not be a hardship on the congregations and on the circuits. But what do you think was the real reason why this was done? I can only guess. I mean, I don't really know for sure. But what I would suggest is that it's because outstanding loans are considered liquid assets. And by removing these so-called loans, they can remove all these things off of their books. So when they turn these mortgage payments into voluntary donations from people, they remove all this from their accounting books. It doesn't show up anymore. It's a gift. It's a similar thing that they did with their so-called donation arrangement with the literature. Remember, they tried to make out like they're trying to simplify this program, that it's something they're doing for you. Well, when you start doing a little bit of digging, you begin to realize that it wasn't done for you at all. It was something done for them. You see, what happened, as I've said in a previous video, was Jimmy Swaggart, the religious, I don't know what you want to call him, weirdo. He had gone to court and he'd lost his court case. He appealed it and he lost that as well. And what happened was they were trying to tax the religious literature that he was selling. And they were trying to make him pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars back as tax revenue. And Watchtower was afraid that this was going to happen to them as well, for all the publications that they sell at the doors, right? They would ask for a contribution to cover the cost of the literature. That's what we used to say. And then we had to reword it to say a donation for the worldwide work. And so this was the true motive. And I don't have a problem with the organization trying to save tax money. That doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is the lying. Why can't you just tell us? You're not doing me a favor at all. It doesn't matter to me if we ask for a contribution or we ask for a donation. That's not simplifying my life. You know, you're doing it for you, and that's what bothers me, is the lying. Stephen Lett asked the question, can you imagine if a bank did this to you? No, because I think it's illegal to do such a thing, and I know you'd be pretty upset if something like this happened to you. I mean, it's like a bank coming to you and taking your 5-year mortgage and ripping it up and saying, you don't need to pay this anymore. Just pay whatever you can, whenever you can, as much as you can, forever. And then when you think it should be over by now, I've been paying this for years and years and years, you find out that they actually own it. You don't own it at all. And then they say, okay, we're going to sell it now, and you have to go somewhere else. And wherever we tell you to go, you are going to have to pay there too. And whenever we decide, we're going to take that building and sell that as well, and then tell you where to go. Literally. It's a crazy arrangement. And they act like they're doing you a favor. It's no favor. It's certainly not for you. And if you look at the history of JW.org, this is what they do. They present something as if it's such a wonderful thing for you. It's not. It never is. There's always a hidden motive. And the only time they actually help you is if it benefits them as well. It's good to know what really goes on with Kingdom Halls in terms of their ownership and their maintenance and the loans for them. Like, for example, I never knew this, but are you aware that each congregation is listed as its own charity? Check out here from the Revenue Canada website. So I did a search. I just typed in Jehovah, and this is what came up. The actual headquarters, the Bethel, is listed as under Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And notice they're all in alphabetical order here. You can click on each individual congregation and see how much revenue they took in, what their expenditures are for last year and for previous years as well. You can also find email addresses for some of the elders within the hall if you want to talk to some of them. It's got a lot of very interesting information. Each Kingdom Hall is in the name of 3 elders who act as trustees. If any of these elders are removed or step down or die or move beyond the boundaries of this Kingdom Hall, the body of elders will then appoint a new person to act as a trustee for that Kingdom Hall. When any building owned by the organization is sold, like any assembly hall or Bethel or Kingdom Hall, the money then goes back to the headquarters of the organization. Never does it go back to the people who actually donated to it. The society, this is an interesting thing, they don't actually hold the title or the deed to these properties while they're being used as Kingdom Halls. And that's an interesting point, because the reason why they don't want to do this is that if any injury or any horrible thing happens in this Kingdom Hall and the person wants to sue, they can only sue the elders who are trustees and the congregation. They can't sue the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society because they're not technically the owners. Which just goes to show yet again that the organization gets all the benefits, they get all the money, and the members then take all the risks, pay all the bills, suffer all the consequences. But while the society doesn't directly own these properties while they're being used as Kingdom Halls, they still control it entirely. They tell the elders in a very direct way what they are to do. When they say jump, you say how high. And if the elder body or an elder goes rogue and has a problem with what he's being told to do, they will get rid of him without any hesitation. You're not doing what we want? You're done. So these elders, whatever they imagine their power to be, they don't have any power at all. They're really just puppets on a string, being controlled by the organization. How do I know this? Well, because a very interesting thing happened in 2010 involving the Menlo Park congregation in California. there was something that happened that involved the society seizing control of millions of dollars of assets and property. And it started because there was a disagreement between the elder body and a circuit overseer over or whether the hall should be refurbished. The CO thought it should be, and the elder body thought it wasn't necessary. It got sent up to the society, and they didn't like what was happening, so they removed the entire elder body, who then took it to court, and they lost. The elder body didn't realize who they were up against. They seemed to have thought that there was a few bad eggs within the organization, like the circuit overseer and a few others, but they didn't realize that this rottenness goes right up to the society, right up to the very top. So what we can learn from this is that it doesn't matter how much blood, sweat, tears, money you pour into your kingdom hall, because the organization is willing to kick you to the curb at any opportunity. They will remove an entire elder body just so that they can seize control of the power and the money that they so crave. And the second thing you learn is when this did go to court, the organization admitted something very interesting. Have a look here at one of the court documents. So I'll just read here what's highlighted. It says, I am General Counsel for the National Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses out of Brooklyn. We are a hierarchical religion structured just like the Catholic Church. And when the order from the Pope comes down in the church, defrocking a priest and kicking him out, he no longer has any say in any matter in the local parish priest. The same situation as here. We are prepared to present witnesses that this is a hierarchical organization. It is governed from the top down. We are protective of property rights and office holding rights of any degree at all in any of our churches. Isn't it weird that they describe themselves as being exactly like the Catholic Church? That's not at all what they say in their literature. They've always said that they were not a hierarchy, but they were a theocracy. From the September 8th, 1976 Awake magazine, it says what I've highlighted there, one's qualifying as an elder or overseer was not a matter of ascending a hierarchical ladder. The ordained ministry is not to be run like climbing the rungs of a hierarchical ladder. In fact, the word hierarchy is not to be found in the Bible. You'll find that what they say in a court of law is quite the opposite of what they tell their members. In that March 2014 letter that we read at the beginning of this video, it also said that each congregation was to keep about 2 to 3 months of revenue and to send the rest to the society, because the society is now going to be responsible for all Kingdom Hall maintenance. Except now you have to ask them for money whenever you need to do something. Before, if they needed to change their roof or retile the bathroom or something, they would have money to do this, because a roof is quite expensive. So what they would do is they'd probably put a resolution forward and say we need to change the roof, and then they'd ask people for donations, and then they would all handle it themselves. Now they have to ask, Mommy dearest, can you supply us with money, please? Because once again, the organization likes to have full control over everything. What's also interested in that letter is that they stated that the need is greater than ever before for more Kingdom Halls, which is so weird, because when you see what's really going on with all the empty Kingdom Halls and all the halls being sold, and people like older ones are being made to travel long distances now, and they're quite upset about it. And I know this for a fact because I still speak with active witnesses, and they're saying a lot of people are very upset about what's happening, and they don't understand. And some Kingdom Halls that only had like 100 people before, or hardly any people before, they're pooling them all together because they said every seat needs to be filled. And so there's like 170 people now in some of these congregations. And they're being told that all the money is needed in Africa because it's growing like crazy. Well, let's see. Let's see about that. Let's see what kind of proof there is. But they say that Jehovah owns all the Kingdom Halls. So, but the money, of course, all goes to them. From a July 15th, 2015 Watchtower, it says a Kingdom Hall is a building dedicated to Jehovah. Therefore, it cannot rightly be said to belong to any individual or congregation, whatever its legal title may indicate. They had to make this clear after the whole Menlo Park fiasco. But the fact is that even though they say Jehovah owns it, they control it and they have all the money. For decades, the organization acted like a bank, forcing congregations to go to them for a Kingdom Hall loan instead of going to a real bank. Contrary to the scriptures, they also charged interest to their brothers. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 19 says, "You must not make your brother pay interest, whether interest on money, on food, or on anything on which interest may be charged." Leviticus chapter 25, verse 36, talking about your brother, it says, "Do not take interest or make a profit from him. You must be in fear of your God, and your brother will keep alive with you. You must not lend him your money on interest or give out your food for profit." And then here in the Greek scriptures, in Luke chapter 6, verse 34, it says also, "If you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, of what credit is it to you? Even sinners lend to sinners so that they may get back as much. On the contrary, continue to love your enemies and to do good and to lend without hoping for anything back, and your reward will be great." So we see from the Bible book of Luke that Jesus wanted the Christians to go even further than the old law covenant. So not only were they not to lend with interest to their brothers, but they were to not even expect to get it back. The principle of the loan, don't even expect to get that back. The sinners expect to get it back when they lend money to each other. But the Christians were to be better than the sinners. And he said that if you acted this way and had this attitude, that your reward would be great. So it wouldn't be very Christian, mind you, if you borrowed from somebody and then didn't even pay it back. I mean, that's not cool to do something like that. But nevertheless, it does show what the attitude should be. And somebody told me that there was an elder's letter around 2008. I could not for the life of me find it. I spent hours literally looking for it, asking around and so forth. But I believe that this did happen, that there was an elder's letter, I think it was around June, they say, of 2008, where they said that they recognized the principle that they should not be lending their brothers with interest. They cited that verse that we read there in Deuteronomy. So this was one good thing. And another good thing that they did is that they recognized that when brothers give a resolution to the society to say, this is what I'm able to pay, that they do review this annually, because situations change for people. You know, you might get sick, you might lose your job, you retire, so forth. So you aren't able to maintain that same, resolution to pay this to the society every year. So that's good that that's done. One thing that I find interesting is if the organization ever did need to buy Kingdom Halls again. I mean, as I said, they're selling off all these Kingdom Halls. They're squashing everybody, forcing them to travel long distances to go to these Kingdom Halls. If there ever was a need to buy Kingdom Halls again because there was some kind of growth, which I do not believe this is happening. There's a definite downward momentum happening, and downward momentums keep on like a stone rolling down a mountain. They just keep building momentum, and that's what's happening. They're going this way right now. They're going south. But if there ever was a reason, it would be very expensive for the organization. I mean, they made a profit off of these Kingdom Halls, and they sold them at top dollar. Well, now property prices have gone up a lot, and now they'd have to pay a good penny to buy back these Kingdom Halls that they've all sold. And the longer they wait, the higher the prices are going to go up, right? They wait 10 more years, and now there's a growth. Well, you're going to pay the price of 10 years from now. And will you have made up that much interest on the money that's sitting there? Or is the money just sitting there? That's the question. What exactly is the society doing now with all the money that they've raked in, extorted, as you will, from all these Kingdom Halls that they've sold? Let's have a look. This is from their website. The question is, how is the work of Jehovah's Witnesses financed? And the answer, as I've highlighted there, it says any donations that are forwarded to the branch offices of Jehovah's Witnesses are used to relieve victims of natural disasters, to support our missionaries and traveling ministers, to help construct our houses of worship in developing countries, and to print and ship Bibles and other Christian publications. Notice they used the word any donations. They didn't use the word all donations. It's like that toothpaste ad where they say, more dentists approve of this brand of toothpaste. They don't say most dentists. So we know that it says any donations, but not all donations. So they're not telling you where all the donations are going. What they're neglecting to tell their members is that they have been spending millions of their donated funds to pay for child abuse lawsuits that they're losing. Don't they think that their members who are paying these donations have a right to know this? It's all one big secret from the members, like that letter we read. Don't talk about this. Don't read the last 3 pages of the letter. Just read the first part where we say how wonderful we are. They recently lost a court case in Montana. It was a $35 million loss because they failed to report a horrific child abuse situation to the authorities. Even though in that state they are mandated to report, they decided that they're above the law and that they didn't need to report it. Well, this is why they're losing. They have an obligation to protect, right? They call themselves shepherds of the flock, to shepherd the flock, to help these children who reach out to them and they do nothing. Oh, pray more, go and service more. You're not doing enough. You're not being a good wife. You're not being a good child. This is why this horrible man is beating the crap out of you, because you're the problem. Yeah, well, they're going to pay for it. And there's another lawsuit, a class action suit that just got approved here in Canada 2 days ago. So there's millions and millions of dollars being paid out of these donated funds that the members had known nothing about. One big, huge secret. So what's wrong with what they do? Well, the organization is dishonest in the way they treat their members. They treat them like children who they feel that they don't deserve to know what's really going on. Give us the money. You don't deserve to know where we're going to spend it. This amounts to lying. And you'll see that through what Garrett Loesch says next.
Lying involves saying something incorrect to a person who is entitled to know the truth about a matter. But there's also something that is called a half-truth. The Bible tells Christians to be honest with each other. It is a deliberate attempt to mislead somebody that has the right to know.
The organization deliberately misleads their members, who have a right to know where their money is being spent. As Garrett Loesch, their governing body member, said, this amounts to lying. They are liars. Imagine if you had a friend come up to you and say that they needed to borrow money from you, and they wanted to use that money to get some prostitutes, to buy some illegal drugs, to pay off their sex crimes. What would you say? Well, I hope you would say no. Do you think Jehovah's Witnesses would donate the money that they give, the same amount, if they truly knew where their funds were being spent? So many millions of dollars have been spent paying off victims who they should have been protected in the first place. They covered up these pedophiles. They're being taken to court as a result. They're losing these cases, and millions of dollars is being spent. And we don't even know the half of it, because many of these lawsuits have been done using gag orders. So we don't know the exact amount, but we do know some of the amounts that have come out. And as I said to you, one of them was just 35 million. So, and it's not ending anytime soon. And the sad thing is that Jehovah's Witnesses, when they're asked to give money, they just, without even questioning, they just open up their wallets and here you go. And that actually bodes well for them. It shows that they're trusting people and they're kind-hearted and they are good people. And they are being taken advantage of by an organization that is lying to them. And they don't deserve this. We know what the Bible says about people who pretend to be doing good deeds, who have a form of godly devotion. And we know what Jehovah does to these people. He kills them. Ananias and Sapphira is a perfect example of that, and many others. So the next time the organization begs you for more money, and you're sitting in your Kingdom Hall, and they're telling you that the organization needs to sell this Kingdom Hall and they need to send all their money to Africa because it's growing like crazy down there. Just stop and think for a minute. Ask, show me the money. Let me see the proof that the money really is needed down there. The organization operates with no accountability whatsoever. Are you truly benefiting your brothers and sisters? Or on the other hand, are you benefiting a multi-billion-dollar corporation who is not only a publishing corporation, but a real estate tycoon? Is this who you're benefiting? And keep in mind that this same organization, if you ever needed any help, would kick you to the curb in an instant. We saw what they did to that body of elders when they balked at the system. The sad thing is that most Jehovah's Witnesses won't discover this until it's too late. And if you ever did speak up for any injustices, like those elders did at the Menlo Park congregation, you will be disfellowshipped. And everybody will think you're the problem. You're the bad person, when we know who the true liars are. So this concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to take a bit of a break. I'm going to take the month of March off, and maybe longer. I don't know. I need to get some, I need to work on my health a bit, and just take a break from it all, and just decide what I'm going to do next. So anyways, I'll just say goodbye for now, and I'm sure I'll see you again. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.